It's one of those questions that pops up now and then. Maybe you saw it online or heard someone bring it up at a party. A quick eyebrow-raising thought: did a popular soft drink, specifically 7 Up, ever contain lithium? It sounds like something out of a wild story, almost too strange to be true. Lithium? In a soda? For most people, lithium is a word connected to medicine, a serious kind of medication for serious conditions. So, the idea of it being in a bubbly lemon lime drink seems pretty far-fetched on the surface. But often, the most surprising stories have a kernel of truth hidden within them. And sometimes, history is just plain weirder than anything we could make up. The world of food and drink, especially a long time ago, was a very different place. What we consider normal today, what we expect to find on a store shelf, comes from a long line of changes. Back in the day, before strict rules and modern science shaped everything, people had different ideas about what was good for them. They also had different ideas about what could be put into something to make it appealing or even beneficial. It wasn't just about taste. Many early soft drinks, for instance, started out with a different purpose than just being a refreshing treat. They often had a bit of a health angle. People sometimes thought of them as tonics, something that could perk you up or calm you down or even help with various aches and pains. This was a common way of thinking in the late 1800s and early 1900s. Think about it. Coca-Cola, for example, had cocaine in it for a while. That's a well-known bit of history. Dr. Pepper also began with claims of medicinal benefits. It wasn't unusual for a new beverage to be pitched as something more than just a sweet drink. People were looking for remedies, for ways to feel better, and they often looked for them in places we wouldn't expect today. They didn't have the same clear lines between medicine and everyday consumption that we draw now. Things were a lot blurrier. So, when you hear a question like, did 7 Up have lithium? It makes you stop and think. It's not as crazy as it might first sound once you put it into that historical context. The internet, of course, loves these kinds of historical tidbits. They spread fast. And the story of 7 Up and lithium is one of those that definitely gets people talking. It challenges our modern understanding of how products are made and sold. It makes us wonder what else was in our grandparents' favorite drinks or foods. And it brings up interesting questions about how we used to think about health, about what was safe, and about what could actually help someone feel better. These were times when scientific understanding was still growing. We didn't have all the answers we do today, especially when it came to complex chemical compounds and their effects on the human body. So to tackle this question, we have to travel back in time. We need to look at the world when this particular soft drink was created. What were people thinking? What was available? What was considered acceptable? This isn't just about a simple yes or no answer. It's about understanding a whole era. It's about seeing how a product evolved, how its ingredients changed, and why those changes happened. It's about the journey from a time when the word lithiated on a label might have been a selling point to a time when it would be absolutely unthinkable. This story also helps us appreciate how much things have changed in terms of consumer safety and regulation. Today, every ingredient in a soft drink is carefully checked and approved. There are clear rules about what can and cannot go into our food and beverages. But these rules didn't just appear overnight. They came about because of experiences, because of new discoveries, and because of a growing understanding of how chemicals affect us. The story of 7 Up and lithium is a part of that larger history of how we, as a society, learn to make our products safer and more transparent. It's a testament to progress, in a way. It's a snapshot of a different time, a time that feels both familiar and incredibly foreign all at once. So let's peel back the layers and really look at what happened. The truth, as it turns out, is pretty interesting. Okay, let's get straight to it. The answer to that curious question is a resounding yes. A drink that would eventually become the famous 7 Up did, in fact, contain lithium. But it wasn't called 7 Up when it first came out, and the lithium part wasn't a secret. It was right there in the name. The story begins in St. Louis, Missouri in 1929. This was the year Charles Grigg, an inventor and businessman, launched his new lemon-lime flavored soda. Grigg had already found some success in the beverage world. He had previously created a drink called Howdy Orange, an orange-flavored soda, and then a grape soda. But he had bigger plans. He wanted to create something really unique, something that stood out in a crowded market of fizzy drinks. And he did. His new creation was initially called Bib-Label Lithiated Lemon-Lime Soda. Yes, you read that right. Lithiated was right there on the label, front and center. The timing of its launch is important too. 1929 was a significant year. It was the year of the stock market crash, the beginning of the Great Depression. People were stressed, anxious, and looking for anything that could offer a bit of comfort or relief. In this environment, a drink openly advertised as lithiated probably sounded appealing to many. So, why lithium? Well, in those days, lithium wasn't seen in the same way it is today. Back then, lithium citrate, the specific compound used in Greek soda, was actually a fairly common ingredient in a range of over the counter remedies. It was believed to have a calming effect on the nerves. It was often marketed as a way to settle people, to help with nervousness, anxiety, or even hangovers. The scientific understanding of how lithium worked and its potential side effects was still very primitive. People didn't fully grasp the narrow window between a therapeutic dose and a toxic one. But the general idea was that lithium could help calm the mind and body. For Grigg, putting lithiated on the label was a marketing strategy. It wasn't something he was trying to hide. He was selling a beverage that, in addition to being a refreshing lemon-lime soda, also offered what was believed to be a mood-stabilizing or calming benefit. It was a selling point, pure and simple. It made his drink stand out from all the other lemon-lime sodas that were starting to pop up. He wasn't just selling taste, he was selling a feeling, a promise of a little bit of calm in a chaotic world. The original drink was formulated to contain lithium citrate. This chemical compound was easily available at the time. It was used in many patent medicines and mineral waters. These waters, often called Lithia waters, were popular and were marketed for a variety of health benefits, from kidney issues to nervous exhaustion. So Grigg's idea was not entirely new or out of the blue. He was tapping into a pre-existing trend and making it accessible in a tasty, carbonated form. The change from Bib-Label Lithiated Lemon-Lime Soda to simply 7-Up happened pretty quickly. Within a couple years, by 1936, the name was shortened to 7-Up. The reasons for the name change are a bit less clear and have some popular theories behind them. Some say it was because the original formula contained 7 ingredients and Up referred to the bubbles. Others suggest Grigg saw a cattle brand with the number 7-Up. The most plausible theory, however, is that it was simply a catchier, more memorable name. It was easier to say, easier to remember, and easier to market. The world was also slowly moving away from the overt medicinal claims for soft drinks, even if the ingredients hadn't quite caught up yet. Regardless of the exact reason, the new name stuck, and 7-Up went on to become a household name. But for a good chunk of its early life, that lemon-lime soda quietly contained lithium. It was a fascinating piece of its history, one that perfectly captures the different attitudes and understandings of the early 20th century. This wasn't a hidden ingredient, it was part of the brand's identity, a key element that its creator believed made it special and beneficial. The idea of lithium in a soft drink might still feel strange, even after learning it was true. But to truly understand it, we need to step further into the past and see how lithium fit into the broader landscape of medicine and popular culture in the early 20th century. Charles Leiper Grigg didn't just pull the idea of putting lithium into a soda out of thin air. He was following a trend, a common practice of the time. Lithium had a history long before 7-Up. Its use dates back to ancient times, with people consuming mineral waters naturally rich in lithium for supposed health benefits. By the 19th and early 20th centuries, doctors and chemists were more actively studying it. They observed that lithium salts, like lithium citrate, could have a calming effect. It was often prescribed for conditions then vaguely called nervousness, melancholia, or even mania. The science wasn't precise, but people noticed a difference. Lithium was also a popular ingredient in treatments for conditions like gout and rheumatism. The belief was that lithium could help dissolve uric acid, which was thought to be a cause of these ailments. So you'd find lithium in various tonics, pills, and powders sold in pharmacies and general stores. It was viewed as a sort of wonder compound, a broad spectrum remedy for a range of physical and mental discomforts. One of the biggest ways people encountered lithium was through Lithia waters. These were bottled mineral waters, often sourced from natural springs that were rich in lithium. As brands like Lithia Water and Buffalo Lithia Water were incredibly popular, they were marketed aggressively, promising all sorts of cures and improvements. People drank them for headaches, for kidney problems, for general well-being, and yes, for calming their nerves. The idea was that by drinking these waters, you were getting a beneficial mineral that would purify your system and balance your mood. Given this context, Grigg's choice to add lithium citrate to his lemon-lime soda makes perfect sense from a business and cultural standpoint. He wasn't introducing a completely foreign concept to the public. He was taking a known, somewhat respected ingredient and putting it into a more palatable, everyday form. A refreshing soda, but with the added benefit of lithium. It was genius marketing for its time. It appealed to people who were looking for a pick-me-up or a calming agent, especially during the stressful years of the Great Depression. It's crucial to remember the state of regulation back then. The Food and Drug Administration (FDA), as we know it today, was still in its infancy, and its powers were much more limited. The Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act wasn't passed until 1938. Before that, manufacturers had a lot more freedom to put ingredients into their products and make whatever claims they wanted, as long as they weren't outrageously false. There wasn't the same scientific scrutiny or the demand for clinical trials that we have today. A company could claim a drink cured almost anything, and it was up to the consumer to decide if they believed it. So, when Bib-Label Lithiated Lemon-Lime Soda hit the market, it wasn't an anomaly. It was part of a broader landscape where many common products had ingredients we would find shocking today. Many soft drinks and tonics contained all sorts of substances, from caffeine in large doses to, as mentioned, cocaine. Alcohol was also a common ingredient in many medicinal tonics, especially during Prohibition when legal alcohol was hard to come by. These products were often seen as harmless, or at least mostly harmless, ways to feel better. The dosage of lithium in 7-Up is a common question. While exact figures are hard to come by today, it's generally believed that the amount was relatively low. It was likely enough to provide a mild physiological effect for some people, perhaps a subtle calming sensation, but probably not enough to be a full therapeutic dose for a serious mental health condition. However, even low doses of lithium can have effects, especially if consumed regularly. And for some, it could still be dangerous, particularly for those with underlying health issues or who were consuming other lithium-containing products. This era was a time of hopeful experimentation, but also of significant naivete regarding pharmacology. People were searching for quick fixes and simple solutions. Manufacturers were eager to provide them. The line between genuine scientific discovery and enthusiastic, often unfounded health claims was incredibly blurry. The popularity of lithiated products reflected a public desire for wellness and calm, even if the true mechanisms and risks weren't fully understood. It's a powerful reminder of how much our understanding of health, chemistry, and consumer protection has evolved over the past century. So if lithium was a common ingredient and a selling point, why did it disappear from 7-Up? The change didn't happen overnight, but it definitely marked a turning point in the beverages history and in the wider industry. The lithium was removed from 7-Up sometime around 1948. This wasn't a sudden, isolated decision by the 7-Up company. It was part of a larger sweeping shift in how food and beverages were regulated and perceived in the United States. The most important factor in lithium's removal was the tightening grip of government regulation. The Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act of 1938 was a landmark piece of legislation. It significantly expanded the powers of the FDA. Before this act, manufacturers could largely operate unchecked, making all sorts of dubious claims for their products. The 1938 Act required new drugs to be proven safe before marketing. It also mandated that products be labeled accurately, preventing misleading claims. While soft drinks weren't drugs, the spirit of this act and its subsequent amendments began to influence how all consumable products were treated. Over the next decade, the scientific understanding of lithium also grew considerably. And researchers began to get a clearer picture of lithium's true therapeutic window, the range between a dose that helps and a dose that harms. They learned that lithium, while effective for some conditions, especially bipolar disorder, required careful monitoring. Too much lithium could lead to serious side effects, including nausea, tremors, kidney damage, and even death. So doctors realized it wasn't something to be consumed casually without medical supervision. As this scientific knowledge advanced, the idea of having lithium in a widely available soft drink became increasingly problematic. What might have seemed like a harmless tonic ingredient in 1929 was looking a lot more like a potentially dangerous substance by the late 1940s. The casual inclusion of a mood-altering chemical in a beverage marketed for general refreshment just didn't align with the emerging standards of public health and safety. The shift wasn't just about regulation and science, though. Public perception was also changing. As the novelty of medicinal soft drinks wore off, and as the industry matured, companies started focusing more on selling their products as pure refreshment. People wanted a tasty drink, not a medicine that might or might not work. The market was moving towards a simpler, more straightforward proposition, a delicious, bubbly drink to quench your thirst. The health benefits that once made drinks like Bib-Label Lithiated Lemon-Lime Soda unique became less appealing and, eventually, a liability. The 7-Up company, like others, needed to adapt. Keeping lithium in the formula would have meant facing increasing scrutiny, potential legal challenges, and a public that was becoming more educated and less tolerant of unsupported health claims in their everyday beverages. It was a business decision, certainly, but one driven by the undeniable tides of scientific progress and regulatory oversight. The company wanted to sell a popular soft drink, not navigate the complexities of pharmaceutical regulation for a mass market product. So, around 1948, the lithium citrate was quietly removed from the 7-Up formula. The drink continued to be a lemon-lime soda, just without the lithiated component that had defined its early years. This removal was a significant moment. It marked the end of an era when soft drinks could easily straddle the line between refreshing beverage and patent medicine. It signaled a new age where ingredients had to be vetted, claims had to be substantiated, and consumer safety became a much higher priority. This transition wasn't unique to 7-Up. Many other products also had to adjust. Manufacturers of various tonics and remedies either removed controversial ingredients or shifted their marketing to focus purely on refreshment. The public health landscape was being reshaped, moving away from an era of buyer beware towards one where the government played a more active role in protecting consumers from potentially harmful or misleading products. The story of lithium's removal from 7-Up is a clear example of this broader historical trend, a testament to how scientific discovery and a changing understanding of public welfare can fundamentally alter the products we consume every day. The story of lithium and 7-Up is fascinating, but it's important to bring it back to the present. What is lithium today, and what does this historical tidbit tell us about how far we've come? Today, lithium remains a critically important medication. It is still a primary treatment for bipolar disorder, a serious mental health condition characterized by extreme mood swings. For many individuals with bipolar disorder, lithium is life-changing, helping to stabilize their moods and prevent episodes of both mania and depression. It's a powerful and effective drug, but its use is carefully managed. Unlike its casual inclusion in a soft drink nearly a century ago, lithium today is prescribed by doctors, usually psychiatrists. Patients taking lithium undergo regular blood tests to monitor their lithium levels. This is because, as scientists learned over time, lithium has a very narrow therapeutic window. That means the difference between a dose that helps and a dose that causes serious side effects is very small. Too much lithium can lead to toxicity, with symptoms ranging from tremors and nausea to confusion, seizures, and even coma. This strict medical supervision, careful dosing, and constant monitoring are stark contrasts to simply having it as an ingredient in a soda. This modern understanding highlights the significant progress we've made in pharmacology and public health. In the early 20th century, the medical community didn't have the sophisticated tools or the deep understanding of biochemistry that we do now. They operated with the best knowledge available at the time, which often involved trial and error and a more generalized approach to ailments. The idea that a compound could be both beneficial and highly toxic at different dosages was not as widely understood or appreciated for many substances. The legacy of 7-Up's lithium past serves as a powerful reminder of this evolution. It shows us how different our world was, how easily powerful chemicals could make their way into everyday products, and how much we've learned about consumer safety and the proper use of medication. It's a testament to the importance of scientific research, robust regulatory bodies like the FDA, and a constant questioning of what we put into our bodies. It also sparks ongoing curiosity. The fact that a popular soft drink once contained a serious medication is a piece of trivia that sticks with people. It challenges our assumptions about history and about the products we take for granted. It makes us pause and consider the journey of everyday items, realizing they often have hidden stories and surprising origins. It makes us appreciate the layers of history beneath the seemingly simple things. So, when someone asks, did 7-Up once contain lithium? The answer is a straightforward yes, it did. But the story behind that is rich with historical context, reflecting a time when medicine and marketing were much more intertwined, when scientific understanding was still in its early stages, and when the rules of commerce were very different. It's a reminder that what seems perfectly normal in one era can appear absolutely wild in another. The story of 7-Up and lithium isn't just about a soft drink. It's a small, fizzy window into the changing landscape of American health, commerce, and regulation over the last century. It's a fun fact, yes, but also a valuable lesson in history.